Hey Source and Hub, how are we doing? So I've had a load of messages today today, yesterday, the day before, from people running SA businesses on a rent-to-rent basis. Well, just running SA businesses in general. I did a video earlier about HMO, and I really just wanted to share a couple of thoughts really from what we're talking about internally and just some of the things that we're paying attention to while everything's going on and being a little bit crazy at the moment. The absolute top of the agenda is you really need to concentrate on your numbers. So I would encourage everybody to go and look at the portfolio that they're running, especially if it's on a rent-to-rent base, and try and work out at what point you absolutely can't afford to function. Because if you do not know that, you're not going to be able to kind of plan for it if or when it comes. Now, actually, I mean, the travel industry, hotels, airlines, all these sorts of things are probably one of the biggest hit that we're seeing at the minute. And so ultimately, SA, especially if you rely on holiday lets, these sorts of things, people aren't moving about. People are being told to work from home. So if you've got corporate lets, it's going to impact you. So it's really, really important that you understand your numbers and where you sit first and foremost, right? So if you haven't done it before, you haven't been tight on your numbers for whatever reason, you need to look at what the situation is right now and get to kind of grips with where you stand. There's a couple of things, by the way, I've got written down here, which is why I'm keep looking down. In terms of running your business at this point, if you are taking a hit, there's a couple of things that I think you also need to be really aware of. One of those is what your refund and cancellation policies look like. If you're working with people like Booking.com, Airbnb, that side of things, you need to understand their terms. You also need to, if you're doing direct bookings, things like that, you'll have your own terms and conditions. So you need to make sure you understand what they say, what you've put in front of your client and what your responsibilities are in terms of delivering what you've promised. But also where they stand if they want to cancel, get a refund, etc. You need to know what that looks like for you because you need to understand what your exposure is. So again, if you've not done that already, I suggest that you jump in and actually read all your documents again, all your paperwork again. As a kind of next step to that, those of you that are doing rent to rent, I think it's absolutely essential that you go back to your contracts that you've got with your agents, with your landlords, and really understand where you sit in terms of your position, your exposure. I know that there's people in this group who are running rent rolls of 20, 30, 40 grand a month that they're having to pay out to agents and to landlords. If you've got no income, your exposure is huge. So you need to understand what that looks like. You actually really need to, it might be a bit painful, but you really need to actually run through and figure out what that looks like. If it were me, and we've talked about this in the team today, I would probably be speaking to agents, landlords and people like that and discussing rent delays and payment plans and things like that, whether there's even an option for it. I don't think you need to knee-jerk and start just cancelling down rent straight away. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it would be good to have a conversation to understand what policies the agents are putting in place to accommodate things like this at this point. You don't need to necessarily take advantage of it yet. You might not need to, but if you do, then obviously having that conversation is important. It's one of the things that we're doing internally around our tenants paying us rent. It's important that we understand what we can do to advise them. So in the same way that we are, I also know that my agent contacts are all sitting down in management meetings for the last couple of days talking about what they can do to offer, I guess, a little bit of reassurance and a little bit of advice to the tenants that they've got, whether that's company tenants or normal AST tenants. So have some conversations. They might be hard conversations, but have them to kind of tee yourself up to what's potentially going to come. I think kind of as an aside to that, additional to that, is to look at your overheads as a business. In every business, we understand that actually you need to bring in more than you spend. Yeah, now is definitely more so than ever. If your income is going to dry up, even just by a little bit, you need to make sure that you're not overspending in places that actually you really don't need to be. So subscriptions to stuff that you don't, I've got subscriptions to magazines that I definitely don't read, that have just kind of sat on my thing because I just, in some cases, have just forgotten about them. I think everybody needs to do a bit of an activity where they go through and just double check they're not wasting money or hemorrhaging money where they don't need to be hemorrhaging it. Have a look at that and, address it. If there's stuff in there that you need to cancel, then just cancel it. That's ultimately where we're at. In terms of like your utilities and your council taxes and all of this sort of stuff, again, it really comes down to having a conversation with those suppliers. You may find that some suppliers have got policies in place already, like contingency plans of allowing people to spread costs, allowing people to delay payments. I imagine people like with far bigger businesses than me, like British Gas and things like that, will have legal teams and everything putting together contingency plans to help people to be able to kind of buffer this weird little time that we're in. I also think that from a health perspective, there's some things that you need to consider. The first thing is obviously if you've got teams that work for you, like cleaners, maintenance people, guys doing inventory checks, check-ins, check-outs, all of this sort of stuff, where you've got human being interaction with others or potentially at risk, I think you need to make sure that in your business you have a policy that you communicate to them of how you want them to behave and how you want them to act within the business. For us, like with our HMO tenants, if anybody is showing symptoms, then none of our team are to meet them, and ultimately we're asking those questions. So there'll be things like that you need to do. Again, don't knee-jerk and just send everybody home and don't do anything for the next 2 weeks, because you're going to go broke if you do that. I think it's really, really, really important that you actually think about what you do before you do it. What's the consequence? If you reduce your staff, what's the consequence of that to the guests that are still booking and still staying? What's the consequence after we're out the other end of this? Are you still going to be able to get the staff that you need to run your business? All of that sort of stuff. So give some thought to that. In terms of cleaning, I think we always should have units that are sparkling anyway, but now more than ever, I think it's important that we take responsibility and as a community, all of us, that we're doing the best we can to make sure everybody is being looked after as best they can. So I appreciate that if you're anything like me, we can't get stock of things like Dettol spray and stuff like that. We're struggling, but making sure that your cleaners are aware that they need to do the best jobs that they can to keep everybody safe. And things like where you store your stock. So for example, if you've got a cupboard in your apartment full of toilet roll, probably don't just leave it there, because it'll probably not be there when your guest checks out. Stuff like that. Be sensible in the way that you're running the operation. I think that's really, really important. Just think about the things that probably have never occurred to you before. Is there anything we need to change to make sure that we're protecting the operation of the business, protecting our guests, protecting our team, protecting our revenues ultimately? And then this is definitely not my idea, but this is something that I saw on Facebook that I thought was brilliant, and I thought I would share it with you guys. Those people that have got 1 and 2 bed apartments, there's a couple of people online who are making them available as isolation units for people who want to separate from people that are at risk. So people have got families at home and actually have got a symptom or whatever, and they don't want to go home. They're taking a unit on instead. And so there are people who are operating service accommodation units but making it available for that purpose. Obviously there's an impact in terms of the way you clean it off the back end, so make sure you're considering the consequence of your choice. But if people are crying out for somewhere to be, they want to separate from, if they're in an HMO right now and they actually just don't want to be in a shared house, they want to go into a unit, then hotel's probably going to be a bit too expensive. You might be able to give them a product, a service that they need, that the market needs right now, for you to be able to actually protect your revenues, but also provide a service for your client. Yeah, if you can serve your client, they will always be happy to pay for it. And actually, if you can protect your business in that way by just switching for a minute into providing a different service to what you're used to, then give some thought to that. So I just thought I'd drop that out. Not my idea, definitely not taking any credit for that, but I saw it, I thought it was brilliant, so I thought I would share. you know, I also think, and this is kind of a moving forward thing rather than a right now thing, but something to definitely be aware of. You know, we have in all of our rent-to-rent contracts, or most of them, the ones I did really early doors don't have this, but the ones we do now do, has a political impact clause. So if for any reason the market shifts because of a decision made by a political decision, such as Brexit, for example, and we can no longer afford to pay the rent, we have a political impact clause in our contracts that say we can break. I think moving forwards, there probably needs to be in most rent-to-rent agreements some sort of pandemic impact clause. Now, is it going to happen again? Who knows? It's happened once, as my team told me today. It's happened once, it could totally happen again. But at the same time, if you are taking on new units right now, I'm not saying whether it's a good idea to or not, but if you are, make sure you get a pandemic or political impact, this kind of clause put into your contract, because I think it's really important that you protect yourself from anything like this happening again. And I think that's about it. I'm just going through my little list that I wrote down before I got on. They are pretty much my thoughts. Give thought to what you're doing before you do it. Don't just jump ship. Don't just knee-jerk stuff, because it isn't going to help. Remember that you and I and us as a community drive this market. So if we all just start putting our rooms up at like £3 a night, it undercuts everybody, which means everybody will undercut, which means everybody will eventually just go fucking broke. So we need to protect our market as well as protect ourselves and our businesses. Don't just start doing stuff for free that you would normally charge for. Don't just start dropping your prices, because it completely devalues your service anyway. You know, ultimately we need to think how we can shift into serving our clients in a different way with what they need right now. So I'm gonna go. I thought I just wanted to download that and help anybody who's thinking what the fuck they should do right now. These are just some of the thoughts that we've had internally in the team, and I thought I would share that with you guys. Have a good day, whatever you're up to. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll catch you later. Bye.